Hey guys, welcome to Cody and Davina's Videodrome. I'm Cody.
I'm Davina.
And today we're going to talk about Alien Covenant. So we kind of have to talk about some spoilers a little bit. So we're going to do a big spoiler warning right now. And
Don't watch any further if you haven't seen the movie. We'll forgive you for not watching our whole video. Come back after you've seen the movie.
Yeah, but so spoilers. I really liked the end of this movie. I really thought that the ending was great. I love what Michael Fassbender did with Walter and David. That was some of the best stuff in the whole movie, and I loved the way that they ended it. Some of my friends have been disappointed about how they explained the creation of the first aliens, which I want to point out, a lot of people have said, now this hasn't been confirmed in the movie or by the creators, but a lot of people have said that the alien at the end of this movie is not the xenomorph as we know it from the Alien movies.
And that does make sense given what they showed us in this movie with the evolution of the different alien species and how quickly they evolve.
Right.
David has a really nice line about finding out how mutable this DNA is. And I love that they brought back David.
I love it.
That they brought back David.
One minor thing, I don't like what they did with Elizabeth Shaw's character necessarily. I was really hoping that she would be back in some way and have more to do with the story.
I expected her to be back and have more to do with the story, but I like what they did with Elizabeth Shaw's character because David's a bad dude.
Yeah, and it is messed up.
And he is the bad guy.
Yeah.
And what he did to her it was villainous.
Yes. And he is a great movie villain.
Yes.
I love that. Okay, so in Prometheus, David is more or less not a villain, really. He's just inquisitive, and maybe he leans towards experimentation that would be considered villainy. But in this movie, he's like 100% like bad guy.
His character, and we learn this when we see the beginning of Walter.
Mm-hmm.
These androids are built knowing absolutely everything there possibly is to know.
Right.
And David wants to learn more. So
yeah, and
he creates an environment where he can gain knowledge.
Right. I love
himself.
In the opening of the film, they introduce David's his birth kind of with Peter Whalen, who's played by Guy Pearce, and they have a great opening scene together where immediately upon waking up, David has all this wealth of knowledge, and his first question is, if you created me, then who created you? And if you created me, you're my creator, but you're going to die someday. I won't. So he automatically, you pick up on this whole superiority complex that he has. He understands that he's kind of inherently better than humans in terms of he won't, there is no mortality. He knows everything immediately. He doesn't have to learn over a lifetime. So I loved that. I loved that scene. I think that scene perfectly sets up what comes at the end. If you watched the prologue, there were 2 prologue videos uploaded to the internet before this movie came out. One of which, called The Last Supper, that introduced you to the cast and the crew of the Covenant and everything. That was really good. I wish that would have been in the movie a little bit. And then the other one it picks up right at the end of Prometheus when David and Elizabeth Shaw are on the engineer. Well, they're on the engineer ship flying to the planet, and they have these really great scenes where she repairs him. You can tell that he has grown to be affectionate of her, which feeds into what happens in Covenant, and then you get to see what happens when they get to the engineer planet. And that, to me, was awesome. That was probably the coolest thing in the movie. I wish kind of that would have been more of the story.
Well, and I didn't see either of those prequels before we went and saw the movie, and you don't have to see, I mean, they are good. I guess the one with the crew really helps establish characters so that we don't get to see, because the characters do lack some development. We don't spend as much time with them or learn about their past lives. We get bits and pieces, and you can put it together as you're watching the...
Exactly. They're all married couples. That's the biggest thing, I think, about the crew that you get it in the movie, but I feel like it would have been better in the Last Supper prologue. If that would have been in the movie, that would have been better, because you get this nice little dinner sequence where you figure out all the couples and everything. You figure out who's married to whom and who, you know, it just kind of works from a character building standpoint. It works, it accomplishes a lot in a very short period of time.
But the little prologue between David and Elizabeth Shaw, that one really helps. I think it helps bring more of a shock value for what David does to Elizabeth Shaw later.
Yeah, that big reveal, yeah, it's definitely made better by watching that prologue, I think, because you don't see her in the movie until the big shocking reveal that he's been experimenting on her, which is totally messed up. And
back to just the visual aspect of it, though, I absolutely love David's home that he's built for himself on the engineer planet. I love all of his sketches of his different creatures that he's helped create. Again, they're so inspired by H.R. Giger. They look like they've come totally straight out of his sketchbook. And then there's a couple of specimens and
he's got
displays that he has that looks straight out of the Mutter Museum in Philadelphia, and that's another one of our favorite spots to go visit whenever we travel. So
yeah, it's a very cool. He's got like a little baby alien in a kind of Christ-like pose that he's got. He's got an egg that's chopped into slices that he's experimented on. It's really, really interesting. I like. So the one thing that didn't get really explained in the movie that I kind of want to see is, how did he make the eggs? I mean, obviously it's very mutable, you know, so maybe he was able to just mutate something with the black goo into the eggs, but in the original Alien series, the eggs are laid by a queen.
Well, they made the comment, so we didn't have any xenomorphs. He didn't have the xenomorph until the very end of this movie. And they made the comment whenever they first get on the planet, Daniel says there's no wildlife, there's no birds, no anything. Well, birds automatically lay eggs, so if he had something that came from a bird, birds, lizards, fish, insects.
That's true. He definitely could have found some. And one person, I don't remember who pointed this out, one person pointed out that the eggs could have been created from Shaw's eggs, which is totally messed up. That would be a great explanation for what he did, and was not in the movie, but interesting fan theory. It would definitely bring full circle Shaw's story, because she, in Prometheus, is explained to be unable to bear children, which is why the big C-section scene in Prometheus was so cool, is because she couldn't give birth in the natural way anyway, and then she gives birth to what would essentially become the first proto-alien thing, the crazy tentacle thing that they cut out of her in Prometheus, and then bring that full circle into this film where David clearly experiments on her for quite a long time to get some of the creatures that he has in Covenant, and then if he also cut her open and took out some of her eggs to play with, that's pretty messed up.
I'm not convinced that all of the creatures that he has on his displays and in his sketches, I'm not convinced that all of them came from Shaw. I believe that he wiped out all of the life on the planet. That's why when they arrived, they noted no birds.
Right. And another interesting fan theory I think that should be talked about is whether or not he actually wiped out the engineers. In this movie, it's kind of explained that he rains down, destruction on them, and they're all gone. That's their home planet, their home world, whatever, their main city, and he wipes them all out. A lot of people have pointed out, like, these engineers were multi-planetary beings. What are the odds that that was all of them? So I think it would be interesting in future sequels if the engineers weren't all completely wiped out. And if it is to plug into the back end of Alien, or the front end of Alien, however you want to look at it, if it plugs into that story, you kind of need one more engineer. You got to have at least one more, because in the opening of Alien, where they go to the planet where the derelict engineer ship is, the original engineer, the one that we got introduced first in the first movie, called the space jockey for so many years before we knew that they were the engineers, has a chest bursting hole in it. And so unless there was someone else, not an engineer, occupying that cockpit, then that had to be an engineer, and they have to kind of...
We have to have a xenomorph or some sort of the alien life form meet up with an engineer in order to bridge that gap.
If it is to, plug into the beginning of Alien, you will have to have at least one more engineer. But anyway.
But overall, we definitely want to watch the movie again. We're looking forward to the Blu-ray release, and we're hopeful for special features, maybe more of those prologues and explanations. Or I just love David's sketches. I want a catalog of his creatures.
Yeah. Oh man, a special feature on the Blu-ray of just a walkthrough of his lair would be awesome.
Yeah,
just because it's so
the
cool.
zoo that he made.
Yeah, exactly. His little zoo, his bestiary. Totally. I definitely can see why some people wouldn't like it. I can give them that. But
the Alien franchise has been a long-standing franchise that up until now everyone's been kind of allowed to have their own creation story for it, and
which they have in comics and in novelizations, probably in some of the video games. I don't know exactly what origins they may have come up with for the Alien, but now that we're getting an official, film series of the origin that is canon, I feel like it works. It works pretty well. It's interesting. It's interesting to me that humans, in this film, humans are kind of responsible for the alien. Humans created David. David creates exactly. That's interesting.
Humans are the reason the alien was created.
Yeah.
And while some aspects of the movie do feel rushed or underdeveloped, like with the characters, the human characters, David and even Walter's development are really good.
Yeah, great characters, excellent scene and dual performance from Fassbender where Walter and David have their first big scene together. Great scene. And the ending, God, I mean, it's a little easy to see coming. Like, as soon as David cuts his hair that they're going to have a moment where you don't know which is which. So that was a little easy to see coming, I feel like, but well used.
And I'm A-okay with having David come back again. Yeah,
definitely. I like Walter. Walter was a good character too, but David is just such a great villain.
But David's now in multiple movies having an impact on
I like that.
over decades at this point, because there is a 10-year gap between Alien Covenant and Prometheus.
Yeah, and I believe at the end of Covenant, I think we're like 20 years out from the beginning of Alien. So he's still got some time to experiment and get these things. Because another thing, one of the things that people have pointed out about the alien at the end of this film is it's very sleek. It's more organic looking. It doesn't have those biomechanical aspects to it that the original Alien has, and that's definitely something I think that'll be filled in. In the sequel, something
we have to get more mutations.
Exactly, yeah. But anyway, all right.
Overall, we enjoyed the movie. We highly recommend it.
Yeah, overall, we really liked the movie. If you guys found anything wrong with our explanations for things, or if you think we're wrong about something, or if you think our fan theory stuff that we pulled from is wrong, comment. We'll respond to comments. That's cool. And if you like this video, if you want to see more like this, like and subscribe to our channel for sure.
Thanks for watching.
Yep. Thanks, guys.